Trainwreck Sports.
Folks, welcome into a brand new episode of Trainwreck Fantasy Sports. I am your host, Wake Jotkins, joined always by the black screen, formerly known as Merekat, Guard of the Day, Founding Father, Run for the Fund. He's a good guy, does charity work too. And Chris Salamo down there on the bottom. Guys, we have a fantastic Super Bowl. It could be better. It would be a little better if the Bills are in it, but you know what? Positive thoughts only. It's going to be a really good game. We're going to do this show a little bit differently because, no one has a full 9-game slate going right now, obviously. So I'll just, go through the lineup and how we're going to do it. We'll start out, talk about the game, talk about how we think it's going to go. The over-under at 56, pretty high number. So we'll talk about, how high scoring we think it's going to be. And then, like usual, we'll go position by position, starting with quarterback, going down running back, wide receiver, tight end. And, of course, it's a shorter show, so we're going to get some player props in for you guys in the end. And I know the Creek is going to be a busy place tomorrow, so you might want to get there early. Get to the Creek early. I know I will. Well, someone will for me because I'm on Long Island and I don't have a sports book. But that's a story for another day. Right now, we got to talk about the spread, -3.5, over-under of 56. Chris, when you saw those numbers, what was your initial reaction?
Kansas City, 100%. I just I as much as I hate Tom Brady, don't get me wrong.
Mm-hmm.
I love that he keeps proving people wrong. I love that he's not in New England anymore.
I love that. That's my favorite thing about Tom Brady, actually.
And I'm rooting for him. Don't get me. I'm telling you right now, I'm gonna root for Tampa Bay, but Kansas City -3.5 is the bet. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, and then the over/under. How are you feeling on that 56? I know a lot of the sharps are saying that's a pretty low number as far as they're concerned.
I'm gonna go under.
Really? Okay, because that's gonna shape the conversation for fantasy for sure.
Well, most people would think Pat Mahomes is gonna shred any defense. Tampa Bay's got a great defense, but he's gonna put up numbers. But I mean, I feel like 56 is kind of high in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll get into the players that I'm going to play to capitalize off of that. But right now, I'm going to say 56.5. I'm going to go under.
Yeah, I know the first matchup between these two teams was 51 points, so that would have hit the under here. Merekat, how are you feeling about the point total here in this one?
Just everything about this game, the whole week, I'm in turmoil. I'm going back and forth, and it's the worst possible place to be heading into Saturday before the Super Bowl. I should have had all my bets placed on Monday or Tuesday, and I keep talking myself into Tom doing it. I keep being like, well, now the Chiefs, they're just too good. I mean, there's just so much going into this game, a lot of indecisiveness. I really am not too sure right now. At the moment, I am leaning the Chiefs, and I want to bet the over. Who doesn't want to bet the over in the Super Bowl?
Life's too short to bet the
matchup
under
like this, but I want to take the under just because I think the Chiefs might really control this game. Both of these defenses are two defenses that have been undervalued a bit here and there this year, but are really quality to help these teams get there. You saw what the Chiefs did against Josh Allen, a pretty damn good job. And, the first game, like you brought up, was 51, but you got to remember, it was a lot of garbage time from the Buccaneers there. They scored 14 of their points. Brady got most of his yards, 2 of his touchdowns in the fourth quarter of that game. The Chiefs were in command of it. Currently, I'm leaning the Chiefs and the under, but that's no fun.
It's not fun. One thing I'll say to try and push you guys in my direction might be easier for Merekat, I'll say, because I know Chris seems pretty set on the under, but in the playoffs, since I think this is courtesy of Sharp Analytics, by the way, 24 games since 2014 in the playoffs have been rematches of a matchup in the regular season. 67% of those games have gone over in the playoffs in the rematch. So shockingly enough, it's not this kind of thing where people are like, oh, I know this team better. I know how to stop them now. The offenses actually benefit a little bit more. So I'm not sure if that's going to change how we strategize for fantasy this week. Before we get into that, though, wait, what?
I said it might. I mean,
It might. Well, one thing I do know is not a might is how good Picasso's is going to be on all of your dining room tables this Sunday. What a segue by me. I know. They've been doing takeout and delivery for a while now. Obviously, they've been Buffalo for 4 generations, serving up delicious cup and char pepperoni, Wish I could get it shipped to me for the Super Bowl. They do ship nationwide. Might be easier for everyone back home to support them, though. Now is the time to support local businesses. As we all know, please do your part. Support our good friends at Picasso. So now into the real nitty-gritty of the show, what we're talking about, fantasy. Most lineups are going to be – I actually don't know how it works at all on DraftKings. So, Merekat, how do the lineups work for the Super Bowl or one-game slates on DraftKings?
They do this like tournament mode with a captain on the team. It's a mode they offer throughout the regular season, the normal playoffs. But I never really play it. But with the Super Bowl, you have such a small pool of players, you can't run 2 full lineups like that. There can be so much manipulation. Lineups could be the same. It's only this captain showdown mode, which is you get one captain who is more expensive, but they get 1.5 times their normal points they would get. And then you get 5 flex positions, and you can go with anything from a defense to a quarterback in those spots.
Yeah, so he said defense. Ooh. We don't have defenses in FanDuel. It's pretty much the same idea, but it's 1.5, but they don't cost any more for that.
Sorry. They took defenses out for this week. You're right. Okay.
Really?
During the regular, no, they didn't. No, they're right here. I'm just kidding.
They're just so cheap. You don't want to play them.
It's ridiculous. Okay, yeah.
The only time I ever played DraftKings was the Super Bowl. Where, what was it? 7-3, New England.
The Rams. Yeah, 13-3.
I played both defenses. New England, or it was either the Rams or New England in my MVP.
Wow.
And it was the Rams. And the last touch, I had Edelman not in my MVP. That was the reason why I didn't get in first. I mean, it was a $100 buy-in. It was only like 100 people.
Oh, man. I mean, that's a sharp look right there. That's a sharp look at the defenses, and that's why we got you on here. So that's important right there. So because of that, you're dropping knowledge. We'll start with you when we're talking about quarterbacks here. Obviously, they're going to be 2 of the more expensive guys on the slate. I know Mahomes is the most expensive person on both DraftKings and FanDuel. Brady, I think, is 3rd on both. It's just a difference of who's between them. Chris, Mahomes or Brady, do you have a preference? Would you want to try to fit in both, maybe?
Yes. I'm going to try to fit them both in.
Okay.
But in my favorite lineup, I've done a few just in the back of my head. My favorite one doesn't have both of them in there.
Gotcha.
I think that Tampa Bay is going to try to take advantage of Kansas City's subpar run defense because I feel like their pass defense is a bit better. I don't see Brady having the game that Mahomes will have. Mahomes will be my MVP. That's just I'm just going to say what I'm going to say. Pat Mahomes is going to be my Super Bowl MVP prop bet just because I believe that no matter what happens, I mean, Travis Kelce could have 200 yards. I still think Mahomes will be MVP. So no matter what, I'm going to have Mahomes up in there. If Tom Brady, I might fit Tom Brady in a few, but he's a little too expensive to try to fit both him and
Yeah, Merekat, do you have a preference for between Brady or Mahomes or both?
I'm gonna go with Mahomes just for the price difference being $2,000. I don't hate Brady by any means. I'll play him maybe in 1 or 2 things just to mix it up. Maybe I'll try to squeeze 2 in 1, but probably won't be able to do that with what I'm trying to do this week. But Mahomes just is the safe choice. You saw last year in the Super Bowl, nice little comeback through for almost 300 yards and 2 touchdowns. He's been there now. The moment's not too big for him. And against the Bucs earlier this year, he nearly threw for 500 yards. Just an easy game for him and Tyreek Hill there. I think, you got 12,000 for Mahomes, 10,000 for Brady over on DraftKings. Mahomes is definitely worth buying up.
Yeah, and with Mahomes, you get at least the possibility of some rushing yards in there too. With Brady, you're lucky if you get a couple QB sneaks. Don't hate Brady's rushing yards for a prop bet, to be completely honest. But, we need those QB sneaks there for that to even come to fruition and no kneel downs. So, we'll talk about that later. But yeah, Mahomes is easily, it's a $1,500 difference on FanDuel. So a little less drastic than it is on DraftKings. But yeah, I think Tampa Bay is going to try to establish the run a little bit more than Kansas City will. Kansas City has been like 73% pass heavy in most of their games this year. And that is just the highest mark in the NFL by far and away, even more than the Bills. Shockingly enough, I didn't think that was possible. But yeah, we're all in agreement that Mahomes is the go-to play if maybe you find somewhere that you want to like make up a little bit more money to go up from like maybe a Fournette to a Hill instead, maybe you want to get Brady in that way and then do Hill that way. But, that was a quick conversation. So we'll just move quickly to the running backs. And I just, Merekat, we'll go back to you. I can't imagine playing a Kansas City running back this game, right?
No, now the price is crazy on DraftKings. At least the difference between, for Kansas City between Allaire and Williams is crazy because you saw what Allaire got last week in his return. It wasn't much, $7,000 for him. Then you go down to Williams, he's $5,200. If I had to take a KC back, it'd be Darrell Williams, but I'm not touching Clyde Edwards-Helaire, that's for sure. I don't trust him at all. That KC backfield and Le'Veon Bell. I mean, maybe he gets a couple touches.
I mean, at times Darrell Williams looks better than Clyde Edwards-Helaire too. Like he definitely looks like he's running with like more power behind him, and he's breaking more tackles. Like Edwards-Helaire just kind of looks. He's a rookie, so it's weird to say, but he looks like an old running back sometimes. He just doesn't look. He looks like he's lacking some of that burst. Maybe that high ankle sprain. Maybe it's bothering him still a little bit, and they're just not letting on to it as much as they should be. Chris, does the Kansas City running game intrigue you whatsoever?
Not really. I'm not a big fan of Clyde Edwards-Helaire for a lot of the reasons that you just said. I think that they're going to be throwing the ball out. Their path to winning this game is to air the ball out, and I think Andy Reid knows that. I think Patrick Mahomes knows that. So I think that with how I think the game strip's going to go, that I'm not going to fit either one of these Kansas City running backs in.
Yeah, and then, just pivot. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No,
then pivot over to Tampa Bay. I mean, Ronald Jones last week he had 10, or 2 weeks ago he had 10 carries, 16 yards. Just horrendously inefficient. It's the Ronald Jones that we've all known and hated for the past 2 years of his NFL career. So if you're going to touch a running back in this game, Leonard Fournette's probably the best option, but he's not cheap on FanDuel. So does that intrigue you whatsoever?
Me?
I said whoever wants to take the cake can take it.
Go ahead, Chris.
I'll take it. So Leonard Fournette is somebody that if I needed to fit somebody in there, I just like my path for in my opinion, the path for Tampa Bay to win this game is to run the rock and control the clock.
Mm-hmm.
If I thought Tampa Bay would win, I would play Leonard Fournette. So if you think Tampa Bay is going to win, Leonard Fournette's a good play, but I just don't think. I think that Kansas City is going to put up points, and in order for Tampa Bay to keep up, they're not going to be able to run the rock the way Leonard Fournette needs to in order to succeed fantasy-wise.
Yeah. I mean, he might be a better play on DraftKings than FanDuel, to be completely honest. So, Merekat, what do you think? I know he's 7,800 on 7,800 on DraftKings. Is he someone you want to go to? Because, like Chris is saying, if you think the Bucs are going to win, he'll be running the rock a lot more. But if they're playing from behind, they do like to involve Fournette in the passing game a little bit. So does that make you want to play him?
I'm a fan of playoff Lenny, man, but with the 7,800 price tag, my play of the week, if you're a DraftKings person, absolute play of the week is Ronald Jones for me.
Wow.
He is 2,200, 5,600 cheaper than Leonard Fournette. This is a guy who's had at least 10 carries in each of the last 4 games for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He averaged 5.1 yards a carry all season. He had 8 touchdowns this regular season. This guy at this price tag just needs to fall into the end zone. I know last week was rough, but I love Ronald Jones this week. I think DraftKings, he's an absolute must play.
So, what then, to my concern of, just how he's looked throughout all of the playoffs, really, you're not really worried about that at all?
Guys shake it off here and there. He's proven this year he's good enough, and he's done some nice things here and there. I know he's kind of phased out of the passing game a bit, but I'm really not that scared. The last game was rough. I'll give you that. That was not good. 10 for 16, but he's still getting those carries. They're not just going to shy away. Bruce Arians isn't that type of guy. He knows what Ronald Jones can do. The regular season, he catered to Ronald Jones a lot, and if they want to get that run game going, playoff Lenny is the obvious guy you're going to game plan around. Ronald Jones, giving him a bit of maybe a feature here and there to throw the Chiefs off balance.
Yeah, that makes sense. But
like I said, all he's got to do is fall into the end zone at that price tag, and with the volume he gets, you can't just go off the past few games. He did average over 5 yards a carry over the whole year, and 8 touchdowns as a running back in a split backfield is really good.
And so how much is, because like I said, I know nothing about DraftKings really. How much is the total salary for 5 players? Because on FanDuel it's $60K, and the cheapest player is $50K. So then you have about
this is for like your 2 quarterback stuff. If you were to give Mahomes your MVP or something, you're paying up.
Oh right. Yeah, true.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's
probably going to be my, because Mahomes at MVP is 18,000.
How much?
And that's my main play.
What's the disparity between QB and like skill player?
For MVP or just normal?
I guess so you pay more for someone.
Yeah, so people are juiced up based on the projections, not just So like the top 3 players right now are Patrick Mahomes 12,000, Travis Kelce 11,000, Tyreek Hill 10,400, then Brady. So you'd think it'd be Mahomes and Brady. I don't know how it is on FanDuel, but you got 2 skill positions above Brady who they're not projecting to have a bad game at all. DraftKings is a bit weird. So if you want to do those heavy lineups where you want to MVP a quarterback or get 2 QBs in your lineup, or Travis Kelce, who we'll get to, who is a guy I'm playing in everything I absolutely can, you're going to need one of those really cheap guys, and I'm going with Ronald Jones over a defense, but I don't want to stuck Jones and Fournette.
Yeah, on FanDuel, you're right. They are. Brady and Mahomes are the top 2 most expensive, 16.5, and then 15,000 for Brady. So that, it makes sense though with Kelce and being between them because of the full point PPR on DraftKings. So maybe I want to start playing more DraftKings just so I can actually understand that. But that'll be for next season. Chris, did you have something to add there?
Yeah, on FanDuel, Ronald Jones is 4,500 less than Leonard Fournette. So that is a salary saver if I've ever seen it.
That is a really wow. Okay. I don't think I'm going to play him, but, I will respect the hell out of anybody who does. I'll just say that.
QBs in there.
Yeah, if you want to fit your 2 QBs, like that's what I'll get to the cheap guys I like in a little bit.
Yeah, I'm not saying Ronald Jones is going to give you 30 points or, 150-yard, 3-touchdown game, but for his price tag and the value and the way you have to build lineups this week with these weird formats, I think he is the best cheapo guy for sure, and I'm going to need one of those in pretty much every lineup I have.
He could be the Damian Williams. I know who would have thought Damian Williams scored 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, and if there was ever a possible MVP performance from a running back, maybe outside of what James White did like 4 or 5 years ago, Damian Williams almost had it there too for himself last year. Moving to wide receiver now, because wide receiver is a little bit more exciting, I would say. Like on Tampa Bay, it's impossible to predict. So for that reason alone, I feel like I want to go down to Antonio Brown just because I know the skill set isn't like, in terms of talent, he's not too far below Godwin or Evans. He has a little more rust on him and everything just because he had been out of football for so long. But I think I saw his player prop when I was looking through those before we started. His line for catches, I think, is the same as Evans. I think they both have an over-under of 5 catches. So, and I think Godwin had 6, if I remember correctly. So people think that he's going to be just as involved as every other pass catcher at the very minimum for the Bucs. So instead of being around Evans or Godwin, who are very closely, priced together, Antonio Brown is a solid like $2,000 discount. So I really, really like that. Chris, you are nodding your head, so I hope you're agreeing with me, or you're not just getting ready to tear me a new one for that take.
No, I agree with you, and it's making me rethink what I had, because I had Godwin in, but thinking about it, Antonio Brown, to get off paper, he's been waiting. Has he been in the Super Bowl before?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I really don't think so.
whether it's time takes away from the pedigree that we remember, but he is one of the best receivers that we've seen probably. I mean, I've seen probably in my lifetime.
Yeah, in terms of just pure and raw talent, like he's unbelievable.
Right. I think that he's going to be ready for this game. He's been waiting for this game for longer than almost anybody in this game that I could think of.
Yeah. Maybe LaShawn McCoy. Is this his first? This might be Shady's first, but he's not really going to be active. So.
I think he won last year with
last year.
Oh, he was with Kansas City.
He was a healthy scratch though.
Yeah, so same as this year, pretty much.
So I mean, like, but exactly like you said, but it'd be like if LaShawn McCoy was involved in the offense.
Yeah,
I feel like Antonio Brown is going to be a forgotten factor in the game, just because Mike Evans, big name, Chris Godwin, a big name. Mm-hmm. You want to spend salary for them because they put up big points. But Antonio Brown, besides last week, was on a freaking tear. He blew it last week. He had a bust week. Yeah. But he was on a tear before that. So I think that it would be foolish not to consider him at least and rely up to save some salary.
Yeah, Merekat, how are you going through deciphering what to do with the Bucs receivers?
I want Godwin. It's basically, like I'm gonna try to do something with Tyreek Hill here and there because we'll get to him, but if I don't, Godwin will be like my big money guy. 44 targets over the past 5 games on just normal PPR scoring. He's got 19 points over that span too, at least average every game. He's just been Brady's favorite target. He's doing great. Antonio Brown, sneaky because he's limited in practice this week and stuff. He might be discredited a bit. Scotty Miller, I don't know. Mike Evans, too. Like, I love Mike Evans. He's one of my favorite receivers in the NFL. Just from a pure appreciating him as a player standpoint, I think he's so underappreciated. But, as a Buck, for one guy I'm going to trust, it's going to be Godwin.
Yeah, I stopped myself from looking at the splits from last time these guys played just because I didn't want it to affect my judgment too much coming into this game because things can be completely different. The only thing I remember from that game is that Tyreek Hill went just absolutely bananas. And so for that reason, going over to the Chiefs side, I don't want any part of him, to be completely honest, because I really do believe that the Bucs are going to try to overcompensate for how successful he was against them back in, week 12, week 13, somewhere around there.
Yeah.
And he had 200 yards in the first half. That was that game. Yeah. I don't think he's going to do that again. Is he going to top 100 yards? I mean, probably, but I don't know if he's going to have that, ridiculously, literally just no ceiling like he usually does. Plus, I think I would rather go Kelsey because in terms of DVOA, the Bucs are terrible against covering tight ends. Chris, I saw you wanted to chime in there. What'd you have to say?
I was just looking. He had 51 points.
Yeah, he had 51 fantasy points against them.
He had 200 yards in a quarter or whatever. It was nuts.
Yeah. And for that reason and that reason alone, I don't want to touch him this week.
I completely agree. You want to pick the people that aren't gonna be over. This guy is a complete right now. What I'm looking at, it seems like he's gonna be overpicked. Exactly. You don't want to pick. You don't want somebody that's everybody's gonna have in their lineup. You want a Sammy Watkins who scores 2 touchdowns and he's the third receiver or the second receiver like last year. Damian Williams, who's nobody expects. You want, if you're gonna win, especially in the Super Bowl where everyone's gonna be playing the same game. You want those Ronald Jones. You want those guys that less ownership is going to be had for them.
So do you see a possible Ronald Jones somewhere else in the Chiefs receiving core, or not? That's not where you're going to go for that value.
If I were to, are you asking if I were to pick Ronald Jones or Sammy Watkins?
Yeah, because they're similarly priced, right?
Right. Man, Watkins 7,500. I came into here so confident in Watkins. Him still being questionable kind of scares me a little bit. But he would be the guy to go off another Super Bowl just because,
That's what I was going to say. It's just it'd be such a Sammy Watkins thing to sit out, half the season, sit out the playoffs, come back at the Super Bowl after not practicing the whole week before the Super Bowl, and then throw up 8 for 150 and 2.
he was like the third best player or the second best player in that last Super Bowl. So.
Yeah, no, I mean, I completely agree. I would consider Mecole Hardman just because, like, he does kind of run a little bit too. So that would be one way to kind of, you can play a receiver for the Chiefs who can get the ball without it counting as a pass from Mahomes. And those few points, however minuscule that could be, it could just be, whatever his rushing yards total is, could be enough to tip you over when it comes, or if he gets a rushing touchdown, enough to tip you over and get past some of those guys who are playing guys that are more tied to Mahomes, like even like a Byron Pringle. That's someone who I'm sure is going to be like 8% owned this weekend just because one, he has a funny name, and two, Mahomes throws to literally everybody on his team. So, I can see where that could come from too. But the last position we had, did we ask you about Hill and all them, Meerkat? I feel like I skipped over you.
I was just going to say, I don't think Tyreek Hill busts at all. I think he pretty much fulfills his price tag this week, which is pretty steep. The Bucs secondary, Antoine Winfield Jr. there at safety this year's a rookie. He's been a great welcoming for them. He's been awesome. But outside of him, they're very guys benefiting almost from the system from when they do play well. Yeah. They're not saying they're bad. They're just no one that really stands out at you. And I think Tyreek Hill and Patrick Mahomes' connection, you saw it in the first matchup between the two. I don't think that's replicated, but I see Hill going over 100. I think he scores in this game. Other than that, I don't mind Mecole Hardman. He's had double-digit DraftKings points the past 2 weeks. Then a little quiet 2 weeks before that, but he still had 9 targets over those 2 games. And before that, back to double digits. He's a guy who's a little under the radar, not going to burn you, but for the price tag, I like it because I just said not going to burn you, but he actually can absolutely burn you. And that's why I like him. He's kind of just that big play threat where he's going to get 3, maybe 4 targets where he's got to take one of them to do like something big with them, yards after the catch or whatever, get a touchdown, a big rush on a gadget play. So I don't mind him for the price tag. I'm not going to play. I don't like Sammy Watkins.
Yeah, my friends peer pressured me into getting his jersey just because it has my last name. So I don't like him either. Moving on to tight end. It's a weird week for it because Kelsey's chalk pretty much. I feel like if I'm going to choose between Hill and Kelsey, I'm going to want to take Kelsey. Between the 2 top pass catchers for the Chiefs, but between Gronk and Cameron Brate, I was excited to play Cameron Brate this weekend until he popped up on the injury report. He has more targets than Gronk mostly throughout the entire season pretty much. Gronk seems to be like this red zone weapon, just making ridiculously athletic catches in the end zone, where Cameron Brate is the guy that actually gets them down the field, and sometimes he caps off the drive too. So, it's obvious how we all feel about Kelsey. He's probably a good play. We already said that a few times. But, Chris, Brate or Gronk, would you ever consider either one?
I think that I would Brate on FanDuel 7,000. Gronk is what is Gronk?
I think he's just below him by like $500.
6,500. Wow.
Yeah.
If I'm picking one of them, Brate being on the injury report, if I'm putting in 5 lineups, Brate will be in one of them.
There you go.
I have a question for Meerkat. Would you rather play? Because Mecole Hardman and Sammy Watkins are both the same amount of money on FanDuel. Cameron Brate being 500 less. Which one of those 3 or 2 of those 3 would you play?
Good question.
Or
Mecole
less than you 6,500.
Mecole, Sammy, or
Mecole and Brate probably. A lot of this does depend on Sammy's status. He's been limited all week, how he is, but I think he ends up being active. Excuse me, but Brate, another situation in Brate where he's questionable too. I'd probably lean Hardman and Brate, but if we're talking about these Bucs tight ends. I hyped him up before on one of I might have been the first show. He didn't perform for me. I like Gronk. It's Gronk in the Super Bowl. It's Tom Brady and Gronk in the Super Bowl. It's the
We've seen
Chiefs
this
defense who is weak to the tight end. It's Gronk who, wasn't fantastic this year, but he had a good year. Whose absolute best game of the year came in that Chiefs game. He had 6 catches for 106 yards and a touchdown in that one. It's just a big moment, and that Brady needs somebody to trust. He trusts Rob Gronkowski. They've been there before. They've done this before. Even if it's just he gets 4 catches for 40 yards or so, I think he scores a touchdown in this one. I love that play for one of the props, but that's all you need out of a tight end that's cheap. I do like Kelsey. I think he's a good pillar play, but I'm not going to be playing him just because of the price tag. Kelsey costs more than Tyreek Hill and Tom Brady on DraftKings this week at $11,000. Do you know what Rob Gronkowski costs? $3,000. There's an $8,000 price gap between those two, and I think Kelsey outperforms him for sure. But do I think Gronk is a great value at $3,000? Yeah, for sure. I'd be playing Gronk at like $5,000.
I feel like they're baiting you on DraftKings to playing all these value guys, and then you're like, "Oh wow, I have $30,000 left for my lineup."
Well, see though, if I throw Gronk and Ronald Jones in a lineup, then I can get Brady, Tyreek, Mahomes.
That's ridiculous. That's so. I feel like that's easy, but also it gives you way too many options, so it's probably way harder than it has to be.
When you said that Gronk had his best game against, he had 7 targets, 6 catches, 106 yards against Kansas City last time they played.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. Maybe he's not going to be. Maybe he's.
I don't remember. I think I said he scored. Actually, I don't think he scored.
Cameron Brate had 6 targets, 4 receptions for 34.
So they get roughly like the similar usage. It's just a matter of who capitalizes on it.
It's just a bigger game. So who's Tom Brady is the question.
Probably Ty Johnson, because that's what he did for that big conversion last week against Green Bay. So that's obviously all we got here. I mean, none of us are considering playing kickers, right? I mean, the butt kicker and suck up have both been
lineups. I'm going double kicker, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, please do.
If I'm doing 3 or 4 lineups, and I have both kickers, and they somehow become the top 6 or top 7 players. You know what I mean? I'm putting myself.
This is a scenario where you're playing like multiple lineups and you're just kind of like diversifying your portfolio.
Right. No, that is in no way going to be my number 1 lineup. But multiple lineups, it's smart. I mean, in my opinion, everyone's going to be chasing for points. Having both kickers, if they both get 10 points.
I'm pretty sure in the DFS stuff you and I do in the regular season, sometimes you and I had the same lineup and we both double kickered it for the one Thursday night game this year.
Exactly. And like I said, last time I did a $100 buy-in at DraftKings. However, I played both defenses, and that would sound dumb. But like,
that's true.
You know what I mean? Like, you never know, and that ended up being profitable for me one day. So that's something that if I have multiple lineups, that I honestly usually do, just because if it happens once out of 16 times.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, I don't have anything that crazy to say to end off this segment for the fantasy stuff. Merekat, do you have any weird dart throws you're gonna have? Pun completely intended for this. For this, or are we moving on to player props?
I got no dart throws. Just one thing. Like I said, I don't know FanDuel. I assume this might be the same, but for DraftKings guys, especially if you're newer, you don't have to focus in something like this where it's such a small pool of players. Don't focus on just filling out the entire salary. Like if you have a few thousand left over, don't stress over that, especially with the MVP mode. Pricing is going to be weird and stuff. Obviously, you could optimize it and get a perfect lineup. Not, a perfect lineup where the value meets the exact 50,000. But like I said, I could build a lineup. I'm looking at it right now with MVP Ronald Jones, who I love as a value. Throw him at MVP for that ×1.5 points. Okay. Then you get Gronk is your other value guy. And then it's Mahomes, Brady, Tyreek Hill. And then you have your choice for your last spot at Travis Kelce, Godwin, anyone else on the board. So I'm not going to overplay that, but I think it's a solid strategy.
That's the best.
Mhm.
I like it for cash games and double ups and stuff like that. There's obviously something like this is kind of susceptible in turn. Other people are going to be thinking the same thing. But if you play a cash game, it's a good way to load up on the high end stuff for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I mean, that pretty much does it for the fantasy talk. So we will move into player props. Definitely, it's part of the Super Bowl. It's what's more uniting than Super Bowl player props? Maybe the commercial. That might be it, or the props for how long the national anthem will be. I heard they might not have the stopwatch there this year, so maybe those bets won't get fulfilled. Check that out before you bet on that. Let me tell you that right now. But for the player props, we'll just go around the room, name maybe like 2 player props each that we all like. And Meerkat, you ended the fantasy talk, so we'll go right back to you. What is a player prop that you're digging this weekend?
I like Chiefs' first touchdown score, Travis Kelce plus 650 at the Creek right now. I just think Travis Kelce has a good game. It's who Mahomes trusts most. And if someone's scoring that first touchdown, I think it's either a Hill or Kelce. I'm going to coin flip onto Kelce there. I think he has a good game. Like I said, I'm going to try to get him in a lot of my lineups this weekend. Nothing absolutely insane, but, at least 5 catches, maybe 100 yards and a touchdown out of him this week. And I like him to score first, get the Chiefs up early. And another one I'm looking at, I talked about him already. Rob Gronkowski's over under set at 29.5. I'm hitting that over 29.5. Over. I believe in Gronk. I think he has a decent week at best. I think, 40 yards is kind of his floor this week. I could be completely off because he's been a little down in usage this playoffs so far, but I like Gronk.
So what worries me about Gronk is just, as we kind of talked about for the tight end section, and this is why player props are actually valuable to bettors and fantasy players alike, is because it's kind of they go hand in hand together. So does Cameron Brate's usage at all worry you about, that over under for Gronk?
Nope. Not against Casey's defense with how Arians going to use a lot of 2 tight end sets and stuff like that. And that's, if Brate is off. That is if Brate is 100%, and I do like the correlation between it, but between using the props and DFS and seeing kind of how they correlate, where the number is from the books compared to like the value on the stuff, but they also are off a lot of the time. They're down on a lot of people this week when it comes to player props. There's nobody who is really jumping off the board. You have Chris Godwin at like 77.5, Gronk at 29.5, Mike Evans at 63.5, Brates at 29.5 with Gronk. Just good players who, 2 of those guys should go over that. Who knows what happens? Maybe the Bucs could completely shut down, but it feels like a lot of guys are kind of getting undervalued this week, and it's just picking the right ones that are going to break through.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's the name of the game. And in this game where everybody thinks it's going to be over the 56 points for a lot of the sharp bettors are saying, the over on the player props should be pretty valuable. So, Chris, over to you. Who are some guys that you like for their totals from Vegas this weekend?
I like a Patrick Mahomes running touchdown.
Love that.
He's right now on DraftKings. I'm not sure what he is at the Creek, but he's plus 250 to score an anytime rushing touchdown, I'm pretty sure.
Wow,
I like that too. I can't find Tom Brady. I would put equal amount on Mahomes and Brady, at least one QB in this game to score a rushing touchdown. That's one of the things that I'll probably go with. And another one is a Mahomes MVP. I think he's minus 106 right now.
I mean, I'm amazed. The only reason he might not win the MVP is if they lose. Like, right? Is that what that is? Like, that's more or less a Chiefs money line bet, a discounted Chiefs money line bet.
Exactly.
Here's a question for you though: if the Chiefs win, I love your bet, Chris. I think Mahomes is the best bet for the MVP. But if Chiefs win, say Mahomes throws for 300 yards, 2 touchdowns, a great game in the Super Bowl against a good Bucs D, nothing outstanding. But Travis Kelce has 12 catches for 145 yards and both of those touchdowns. Who do you give the MVP to in that situation? you've had some Super Bowls like that before where it's like the quarterback does deserve it, but like this skill position guy did go off, or this one defender did make that game-breaking play. So that's like one thing you got to watch out for. But I think Mahomes is the best bet. I always think of little hypotheticals like that to myself. I'd probably give it to Kelsey myself, even though people would still want Mahomes to get it because Mahomes is the one getting him the ball.
Maybe you guys could help me. I don't exactly remember how many yards Damian Williams had last year, but I do remember he had 2 touchdowns.
Let me see. I'll pull up the game.
That's
they got the interns on it. Hold on.
Williams had 104 rushing yards and a touchdown with 30 receiving yards and a touchdown.
Okay. So
thank you, intern.
I mean, I guess Mahomes did deserve it then in that case. I thought he had 2 touchdowns.
Still, but he threw 2 picks as well. 280 yards, 2 touchdowns, 2 picks.
There's an argument out there that Damian Williams just deserved that Super Bowl MVP. And that would be – no, I completely agree with what you're saying. There has to be – like Mahomes can't be the obvious winner, but if Travis Kelce, you said – what was the line? If
like 12 for like 140 and 2 touchdowns, like something like that.
If he had 140 and 2 touchdowns, yes, Travis Kelce would be the MVP. But if he had, let's say, 100 yards and 2 touchdowns, and Mahomes had 303, I could see Mahomes getting you know what I mean. I
see, like,
it's the quarterback.
Yeah, the premise alone just reminds me of the James White, when he had 3 touchdowns, he had like 180 all-purpose yards, but they still gave the MVP to Brady. And that was the day that I realized that it's always just going to be a quarterback award unless there's a defensive player that goes off, like a James Harrison 100-yard interception for a touchdown, Like, I don't know. I feel like
two pick sixes.
Yeah, 2 pick sixes will take the MVP away from Tom Brady or from Patrick Mahomes. For myself, and this is gonna sound really, really weird, but my first one is gonna be any player prop for a Chiefs receiver to go over. Anyone, pick one right now. Byron Pringle, yeah, sure, let's do it. What is it? 7.5 yards. Hell yeah, I think Byron Pringle's going to get over 7.5 yards in this game. I think he's going to hit the 60-point territory total. If anybody could tell me that they want to bet any Chiefs person who can catch a ball to go over their receiving total, I would not even bat an eye whatsoever.
Yeah, a lot of them are low. The only 2 big ones are getting are Hill and Kelsey, both in the mid-90s, depending where you're looking. Mid-upper 90s.
Yeah, and Mecole Hardman almost had a 90-yard touchdown last week against.
All it takes one play for Mecole Hardman. All it takes is one broken.
Exactly, and he's so fast that he can do that on literally any given play. Him as an anytime touchdown scorer is pretty good money too. So that's going to be the one I didn't want to bring up, or the one I didn't think to bring up. My favorite one though, Tom Brady over a half rushing yard.
1/2.
1/2. I thought it was
QB sneak. Okay, well, I take away my QB sneak prop.
Oh, never mind. It's over under rushing yards. Yeah, Brady is over a half. It's plus 110 for the over.
Are you kidding? I take away my Brady scoring a rushing touchdown.
No, I think that's easy money as long as they don't allow a quarter.
I like that prop way more than the other one, unless he scores a rushing touchdown, gets that prop.
Yeah, I think that's the freest. Okay, maybe it's not free money, but having plus odds on Tom Brady basically QB sneaking it once is kind of nice.
I think that's bad. I think
pretty nice. But those are all my player props. Anything you guys want to add in on these? Anything else you saw before we call it a show?
No, I'm gonna load up on more tomorrow, get research, and we'll have a show for DDZ as well, where we're going to cover a bunch of Super Bowl stuff, so make sure you guys tune in for that. Me and Ty B and whoever else joins us. Nice. We'll get everything you could possibly want.
When's that going to be, tomorrow?
Probably Sunday morning.
Sunday morning?
Yeah, maybe tomorrow. Well, we might just do a show for tomorrow to do, because Saturday we're gonna have a decent amount of stuff tomorrow, still with everything going on, and then we'll do a Super Bowl show Sunday. If Ty, if you're watching, I don't know, text me after this.
Throw me in that group chat, Ty. I'll be right there with you guys. Chris, any Super Bowl wisdom for everybody excited for the game and sad that the Bills won't be in it?
I think if there's any possible way that you could bet Kansas City to win and Tom Brady to go back to New England next year, I have a good not a good feeling, but I have a feeling that Brady will be back in New England next year. So that's a prop I'm looking for over the offseason. If I can.
Well, I'm sure DDZ will get into some offseason. If you can get it now, that'd be good money for sure. I know DDZ is going to be doing a ton of offseason props for the NFL and everything else going on right now, and throughout during NHL season, NBA. I know some guy Steve, winner of our first fantasy DFS contest, is joining us for DDZ too, doing a lot of gambling articles. So welcome to Trainwreck, some guy Steve, and make sure you get your lineup in. For this weekend, we're going to be doing another DFS contest with the fans, our listeners, everybody, whoever listens to Trainwreck Sports podcasts, all welcome. 10-team contest, $5. If someone, not me, Chris, or Merekat, wins, you're going to get a free Trainwreck shirt on us, any style, any size, no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Chris.
Okay, yeah, this seems like a good time for me to bring up.
Yeah.
So during the contest, you're not going to see my mug. You're not going to see my profile because I'm technically banned from FanDuel. I banned myself from accident. So I banned myself from DraftKings to stop myself from sports betting. I didn't think that it would stop myself from daily fantasy, and they just won't give me my account back. So when you see me, it'll be Santino Genovese. It's not Triple Line. So that's going to be one of the three expert, whatever you want to call us, experts. One of them isn't going to be my mug. It's going to be another guy's mug.
I love
that. I just want to bring that up right now, just so we got it clear.
I've been waiting for you to bring that up on here, and that's a great way to end this show. Yeah, everyone, thanks for tuning in. Enjoy the Super Bowl. Get your bets in, and good night now.